Today on What Went Wrong, the things you want to avoid if you want people to give a shit about your characters. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I've written over 40 feature films. And with those 40 feature films have come thousands and thousands of characters. Some worked, some didn't work. But there was one thing that I always wanted to make sure that people got out of my characters, and that's relatability. Yeah. That you somehow understood where they were coming from, or that you saw a bit of yourself in those characters.
Because you care, that makes you care.
The way I was able to do that was I put a lot of myself into each and every one of those characters has a bit of me in them. I have conflicting opinions. I have conflicting ideas, and different characters help me work those ideas out. Now, one character that has been created recently, it actually kind of goes back to the actual origin is Star Trek fan films, fanfic.
Oh, okay.
There was a character. You'll have to Google it. But there was a Star Trek fan, and she created this character of Ensign or Lieutenant Mary Sue.
Okay, yeah.
And she, everybody loved her. She was perfect. She saved a day all the time, and that's where
the senior commanders listened to her. But she was like, a young teenage, whatever.
And that's where this term of Mary Sue comes from. And it's not a sexist thing, because there's also something called the Gary stew. I think it's a Gary stew, or Gary. I think it's Gary stew.
I haven't heard that one.
It's when it's a male character that's this way, and it's not about the fact that it is a woman that is this. It is about an overpowered, perfect character that everybody loves, and there has no flaws.
Yeah,
and
they're just awesome.
Yeah, they're just perfect. And one of the reasons that it's become so prevalent in films today is because people are so protective of these different classes of people, whether it's female or black or Asian, whatever the stereotype or ethnicity or gender that you're trying to write a story about. They're so protective that if you give them a flaw, now you're thinking, now you believe that you're telling the audience that all women are like this. If you have your main character, your main female character, have the flaw of being too overbearing. Oh, well, now you're trying to say that all women are overbearing. But it exposes their own prejudices, because if they think if that's what they believe, then they're so opposed to having a male character in the main lead, that just goes to show that that's what they think of all men.
Right.
Because if you have a character that is a male character that is this way, oh well, all men are like that.
It's the idea of it's the hypocrisy, if you will, of or even what was the phrase they used to use, and I've totally forgotten it now. It's the prejudice of low expectations, right? To where you don't expect too much from people. And it's the kind of the opposite of that. Is just you expect you project that this person is perfect and has no flaws and whatever else. And if you were to write a flaw in there, well then of course, like you said, you're saying, oh, all women are like this or all women are like that. When the hell was the last time anyone wrote anything that was worth anything, where this one character was projected as being all men or all women or all aliens or all whatever? That's not how it is. Yeah. It's never been reality.
From a writing perspective, here's a great way to avoid that. The Innocent Saga is a prime example, because the main characters are all there's the seven professional killers. And this is something that was always a subtext of the films. And if you watch those seven characters, and I may have discussed this with you before, I don't know. I've talked to a couple people about it. But if you look at each one of those characters, each one from Mike to Carolyn to Tara, each one of them represents one of the seven
the seven deadly sins.
7 deadly sins. And it doesn't say that, all women are just believe in lust. All men are sloths. No, this character represents that. So if you're trying to figure, well, how do I give a character a flaw? That's exactly, just go to the 7 deadly sins. Right. Pick one of those.
Pick one. They're fantastic. They're there for a reason. And 5 of them are mental.
Yeah. And the whole thing about, and the whole concept or idea of the Innocent Saga is redemption. That's why Amazing Grace is an important piece of music throughout that.
Right.
How do these characters redeem themselves? By going through the 7 virtues.
Right.
Pride becomes humble. Wrath becomes forgiveness. And that's called an arc. It's called a character arc, people.
You need to invest in those people.
You learn, you create, you grow, you change, which is the whole point of a protagonist.
Yeah.
And when you have a Mary Sue or a Gary Stu that is already perfect, that everybody likes, they know how to fly everything, they know the Force, their commanding officers love them, nobody has any problems with them. That's one of the reasons, like Wesley from Star Trek.
Yeah.
A lot of people point to him as a Gary Stu, but he's not. Mm-mm. He was overpowered in certain ways, but if you look at how people treated him,
treated pretty crappy.
But shut up, Wesley.
You. So no,
get off my bridge. Yeah.
He had that to overcome.
Right.
What does and let's call Mary Sue a Mary Sue. Ray from Star Wars.
Mary Ray Sue.
Where is her challenge? Where are the people that don't like her? Even her mortal enemy
kisses her,
and is in love with her.
Really?
There's no and where is her growth? What does she learn?
She learns how to tear apart a movie franchise. Is what she learns how to do.
And that's the whole point of the character, and that's something that I always struggled with, especially in my earlier films. Now, agree or disagree, my character, with whether my films are good or not, my characters always went through arcs.
Yeah. And
the way that I was able to guarantee that was I followed the hero's journey.
The hero's journey being one of those things.
Every time
that we talked about constantly.
Every time I wrote a story, I printed out my outline of the hero's journey, and I made those steps. Okay, here's the refusal of the call. Here's the journey of the Great Cave. And if you follow that, it's built in to have your character overcome and to grow. The whole elixir, you've got to understand and become more than what you were.
Yeah, accepting the mentors and the oracle being what all that stuff. Yeah,
and those growths, and you can say, well, Ray grew and she became stronger in the Force. No, she
didn't.
She didn't. You never showed me how she gained those abilities. And we were talking about, and the comeback to that is a lot of people who are pro Star Wars Ray will call Luke a Mary Sue, and he's not.
Never was.
Because he had those challenges to overcome. You had the great thing about the Womp Rat killer, if you want to jump into that.
Yeah, the concept of Luke being a good pilot. Remember, because they were once like, he was a farm kid on Tatooine, and then at the end of the movie, he's flying an X-Wing. And I was like, yeah, not really well, though, at times, if you recall. He got a little too close at one point. I got a little cooked, but I'm okay, He actually was having some trouble, and I guess we're about to...
Because he was a little over-cocky, too.
A little overconfident. We're about to get into my nerddom, which has less to do with Star Wars and more about technical and science, because we talked about I'm a science. I love that stuff. So anyway, one of the lines that you hear in the end, or toward the end of the movies, when they're all sitting in the tax turn and they're all the pilots are sitting around saying, and they're talking about I think they're supposed to launch these 2 torpedoes into this exhaust port, and it's 2 meters or 2.5 meters or 3 meters wide, right? And the guy was like, and one of the pilots was like, what? This is me. What? 3 meters? Are you insane? Because think about it, that's 9 feet wide. You want me to be in an X-Wing, and basically a fighter jet. And I'm going to launch these torpedoes, which apparently don't have any guidance. And you want me to hit this target that's only, 9 feet wide? in the middle of a space battle. And then Luke pops up with his line. He's like, it's not impossible. I used to blast womp rats with my T-16 back home, and they're no bigger than 3 meters, whatever it was. So for those of you who don't know what a T-16 is, it's a T-16 Skyhopper. It's a piece of machinery. And once again, I'm going to apologize in advance. I read a lot, and I don't mean for this to happen, but apparently I remember almost everything I read. It's creepy. But anyway, which is why I'm in the situation I'm in today. But anyway, the T-16 Skyhopper was made by a company called Incom. And Incom also made this thing called the T-65 X-Wing. That's right, the same guys who made this little thing that Luke Skywalker was zinging around in made the main fighter jet, or the fighter craft for the Rebellion, which ended up being the Incom T-65 X-Wing. Now the thing about the Skyhopper was it was originally sold to militaries to use as a training tool for the T-65. And then, of course, as it got older, they'd sell them off to farmers and whatever else, and whoever wanted a T-16. So basically, it's like you have a Cessna or a Piper, a small training airplane, but it has the same cockpit as an F-14 Tomcat. All right. So here's the stick, here's the controls. You turn it on the same way. The landing gear comes up the same way. All the navigational stuff's over here. All the stuff's over here. Everything is where it's supposed to be for an X-Wing, because it's a trainer device for an X-Wing. So when Luke Skywalker was zinging around on Tatooine, shooting an animal, and first of all, we talked about womp rats being no bigger than 2 meters. I don't know what the hell a womp rat is, because that wasn't technical, but that motherfucker is 6 feet long. I don't want to meet a rat that's 6 feet long. I guess I got to go to New York at some point. But anyway, getting back to the point, so Luke Skywalker had been flying that thing around, training in that. There's also a line that got cut from the movie, but if you're like a nerd like me, you find it, where Biggs Darklighter, who was his buddy, who ended up dying, unfortunately, in the Battle of Yavin, Biggs Darklighter was talking with Luke Skywalker, and he says a line to Luke Skywalker, because Biggs is going off to the academy, and Biggs says to Luke, "You're the best pilot anyone's ever seen." So they're establishing that Luke Skywalker has a natural talent to fly. Okay, that's important. But then he also has the technical knowledge of how to turn on and operate the X-Wing because of the T-16. That's also important because it gives you the technical knowledge as well as the ability to fly the airplane. Here's where we're into some trouble. Mary Sue Ray has been flying around on the desert planet of Jakku for years, and the closest she ever got to flying anything was putting on the helmet of a dead pilot. That's as close as she's been to an X-Wing or any other kind of flying device, and driving her beat-up, Harley-Davidson shit stack all over the place. And that's what she had. However, when she gets into the Millennium Falcon, when she gets into a Carillion YT 1300, which is what the once again my nerdiness, YT 1300, she automatically knows how to turn it on, how to get it up off the ground, how to raise a landing gear, how to take the repulsor lifts into drive, and then how to fly it through a destroyed Star Destroyer so good she can fight professional X-Wing pilots.
And let's go backwards a little bit with Luke's ability with the Force. In Empire Strikes Back takes place, what, 3 to 5 years?
3 to 5 years
after Star Wars. And he's just now
being
able to force pull his lightsaber in a moment of increased stress, and as a giant beast is walking towards him.
In a moment of extreme stress.
And it still takes him a hell of a lot of energy.
Right.
Rey not only force pulls a lightsaber within a day or two of having exposure to the idea of the Force, but she's able to pull it even harder and pull it out of the Force grip of a Sith that has been doing this for
and trained
years.
for 15 years with Luke Skywalker, the greatest Jedi at the time. What? Not only that, she was able to friggin', mind bend a stormtrooper after she'd, known about the Force for, I don't know, an hour and a half, maybe? She basically Mary Sued the YT 1300 onto whatever base it was, and gotten captured. And they stuck her in the thing, and of course, what's his name's probing her mind and doesn't get anything, even though he's a super Sith and she's Mary Sue Ray. Yeah.
And this isn't, and again, it isn't a male-female thing.
I don't give a if she's male or female.
It is a story writing, script writing. It is a writing.
It's a writing
thing.
problem.
Because
she's had no journey.
I am not interested in her.
I would have loved to have seen, first of all, Daisy, what's her name? I'm sure she's a fantastic individual. She seems very nice. But the stuff they gave her to say and do just is not interesting. I mean, the going all the different places, doing all the different things, but once again, they inject so much of their, what's what I'm looking for? Agenda into her character, into the shows. I completely stopped caring about her. I wanted to watch her go on an arc. I wanted to see her become, had the concept of her been that the dark side of the Force was pulling on her, oh my God, how much more awesome would that have been? If Kylo Ren had pulled her into the dark side of the Force and all of a sudden she takes him out, and then she becomes the dark side, and then maybe Finn becomes, just something else. Or maybe Kylo Ren goes and finds Luke Skywalker, who isn't dead, because Rian Johnson wasn't allowed anywhere near Star Wars. And then Kylo Ren, who is a Skywalker, decides to step up, and then we have this whole Mary Sue Ray and Kylo Ren fight, at the end, where she's on the dark side and he's not on there was so much they could have done with this movie, and I ended up getting agenda. Nothing but agenda and crap. And people who had never seen
a Star Wars movie.
Writing a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. So what it comes down to is it's not just about the not having the agenda. It's about the character of a Mary Sue and a Gary Stu is not having that arc, and we want to go on a journey with this character, and we can't do that if the character doesn't go on a journey. And just getting on a spaceship and going from point A to point B is not a journey. I need to see their faults, their flaws. What do they need to accomplish? What do they need to get over? And it's not just, oh look, there's a hill, I'm going to climb the hill, I'm going to go down. I want to know this person's going to have a problem with getting over that hill because they've got a broken ankle, or because when they were a child, their father forced them to go up a hill every day after day and became a phobia of hills. Now she's got to try to do that.
Show me a human. I don't want to see some Mary Sue you put up on a pedestal who I can't match. I don't care. It's someone who's perfect. Oh, they're perfect. Well, everyone hates the perfect kid. We all hate the perfect kid. Show me the person who's just like me, who I have to go on a fight with, and they've got their flaws. They've got good things about them. Luke Skywalker was strong in the Force because he's Anakin Skywalker's kid. He was overconfident and brash and just dumb in certain respects. And he almost got himself in trouble a number of times. But in the end, we went on this journey with him, and I could relate to him. I'm like, yes, I also am brash at times. Yes, I also make poor decisions. Yes, I am overconfident in my abilities, and so I try to save my father from being a Sith. Okay, maybe not quite that far. But the thing is, we all have these things. We want to go on this journey. We're desperate to go on this journey with this character. And when you give us a character that's just already at the perfect pinnacle of whatever, no one cares.
And that's one of the main things you have to learn about writing. Perfect is boring. End of story.
End of story.